Hello and welcome to this week's AI in Your Career. This is the week ending April 3rd, 2026. And the title of our talk today is The AI Skills Gap is Real, but it is not what you think. So over the past week, more major reports came out about AI jobs and the future of work. And if you only read the headlines, the takeaway might feel a little overwhelming. You're seeing numbers like millions of jobs at risk, shrinking entry-level roles, and growing inequality between AI users and non-users and workers feeling less secure. But I want to slow this down and walk through the reports one by one because each one tells part of the story. And taken together, they paint a more useful picture of what is actually happening with AI in the workplace now. One of the biggest headlines came from Tufts University, which released a large index ranking hundreds of occupations by their potential exposure to AI-driven displacement. The headline number is attention-grabbing: 9.3 million U.S. jobs at risk over the next 2 to 5 years, with a possible range between 2.7 million and 19.5 million. The report highlights writers, programmers, and historians as some of the roles with particularly high exposure, and it also projects a sharp rise in AI-related job losses in 2026 compared with 2025. We also want to point out that there were concentrations in geography in what we call the wire belt: Silicon Valley, Boston, Seattle, DC, which makes sense that these are tech-heavy areas and likely filled with more early adopters. Now, the economic impact is also very high, with $757 billion in annual income at stake. And the really takeaway here is that it's making this issue more specific. It's not saying that all jobs are equally at risk. It's showing that certain type of works are more exposed than others, especially work that involves repeatable cognitive tasks like drafting, coding, summarizing, and analysis, and research, of course, and writing. So what I would not do is hear this and assume that mass unemployment is already here. I think the better takeaway is that the pressure is real but uneven. Some jobs will change faster than others, and some industries and regions will feel it sooner. So for the average professional, this is a cue to ask what parts of my role are routine and which parts rely on judgment, relationships, creativity, or trust. For leaders, it means workforce planning needs to get more specific. This is not generic AI is coming conversation anymore. It's becoming role by role and function by function. So in our next report, which is the SHRM's State of AI in HR 2026 report, is basically a survey of HR leaders and professionals. And they found that most organizations are not reporting widespread job losses from AI right now. Only 7% reported job losses. By contrast, 57% reported upskilling or reskilling opportunities, and 39% reported shifts in responsibilities. And overall, 74% reported productivity impacts. So there's a much better view of what we're seeing, where the job losses so far are actually low and productivity increases are high. So this is more of a case for using AI. And again, we're trying to put together a holistic picture here. So job transformation, not wholesale replacement, seems to be the theme here. And organizations are adopting AI by changing how work gets done in the moment, not necessarily just letting go of people yet. So now the next major piece focused less on job loss and more on inequality between workers. And this one's from Anthropic, who's doing a lot of research right now. And they suggest that early AI adopters are already gaining a real advantage, while non-users and less experienced users are falling behind. So this research warns that even if AI does not trigger immediate mass unemployment, it could widen the gap between people who know how to use these tools effectively and those who do not. So to me, this is one of the more important reports in the group because it shifts the conversation from will AI replace everyone and toward a more practical question, which is who is learning fast enough to stay relevant. And that's a very different issue. So for the average person, this means AI literacy is becoming part of career resilience, not because everyone needs to become technical, but because people increasingly need to know how to use AI well, evaluate its output, and work alongside it intelligently. So for leaders, this is a warning that if only a few employees become power users while everyone else is left behind, you're going to create some very internal inequality very quickly. So people will accelerate, others will freeze, and the gap can become a culture and performance issue. So the big transition or translation here is the AI divide may not first show up as layoffs and may show up as capability gaps. So now we want to talk a little more specifically on one demographic, which is entry-level work. So the World Economic Forum on entry-level work report looked at entry-level roles, which are very much under pressure. So this finding that stands out is that entry-level jobs are down significantly, 35%, but the report argues that they are still critical. So what is changing is the nature of these jobs. So AI can help junior employees work faster and learn faster, but only if their roles are redesigned to emphasize judgment, discernment, and AI-supported learning rather than just routine execution. So this is an important distinction. It's easier to hear, quote, entry-level jobs are shrinking, and conclude that younger and newer workers are simply out of luck. But I think the more accurate takeaway is that organizations can no longer treat junior roles as collections of low-value, repetitive tasks. If they do, AI will absorb more of that work. But if they redesign those roles around learning, reasoning, and decision support, junior talent can actually develop faster. So for the average person early in career, this means the bar is changing. Employers may expect more strategic thinking sooner. Okay. Now, last one, ADP did trust and transparency research. So this is maybe the most human report in the set. ADP found that only 22% of workers feel confident that their jobs are safe from AI elimination. But the research also showed something extremely important. Workers who believe their employers are investing in their AI skills are far more likely to feel secure. A related study on AI transparency found that when employees perceive more openness and clarity from leadership about AI, trust rises. This is where I think a lot of leaders need to pay close attention, because this tells us the problem is not just the technology, it's the emotional and relationship environment around the technology. If people do not know what is happening, if they do not know how decisions are being made, or if they suspect AI is mainly being introduced to cut headcount, trust will drop quickly. And once trust drops, adoption gets harder. So for the average employee, the translation is this. Your anxiety may not just be about AI itself. It may be about unclear leadership, unclear expectations, and lack of support. And for leaders, the translation is even more direct. AI adoption is a trust exercise. So if you want people to engage with productivity, you need transparency, communication, and visible investment in people. So when I sit back from all 5 reports, here's what I think is really going on. Yes, there's real disruption. Yes, some jobs and tasks are clearly vulnerable. Yes, there is justified anxiety. But the larger story is not simply AI is replacing people. The larger story is that work is being restructured around new expectations, and the people and organizations that do best will be the ones that build capability, clarity, and trust fastest. The divide is not just between humans and machines. It's between people who are learning and people who are avoiding, organizations that are investing and organizations that are improvising on this topic, and leaders who communicate clearly on their AI strategy versus those who create fear through silence. So that is what I think the average person needs to understand and be able to make strong choices around where they sit in this conversation. So if you're feeling worried about AI, I think that that's understandable, but the most helpful response is obviously not panic. It's really to get honest and more practical, learn the basics, understand how AI is affecting your field, look at your own work and identify what's routine, and start building fluency now rather than waiting until change is forced on you. For leaders, if you're leading a team, the message is clear. This is not just a systems rollout. This is a people transition. So your employees are watching how you're investing in them or just expecting them to absorb uncertainty quietly. The organizations that navigate this well will not just be the ones with the best tools. They'll be the ones with the clearest communication, the strongest trust, and the most intentional approach to helping people adapt. So that's our takeaways from this week. And we see that the numbers matter, the disruption's real, but the future's still being shaped. And the people and leaders that do best will be the ones that look at this clearly. So we want to hear from you. We here at HBird want to help, and we have programs to help build career resilience, design AI-enabled cultures and workflows, and you can check us out at hbirdco.com.